Good day all, welcome back to South Africa, and this is South African Prepper. So over the weekend I wrote a post asking the question, does prepping make sense? And the comments that were left because of this post were very interesting. So a lot of the comments came from KZN, or the province of KZN, and it related to the localized anarchy during July of 2021. So in short, to explain this to you, it is what we refer to as localized anarchy. So what happened was mass looting, mass burning of buildings, and then literally the citizens of that specific areas going out into the streets with live firearms and literally protecting their properties and their families from these looters. So I want to talk to you about the three strategies of bugging in, bugging out, and then the third possibility, which is for us the most realistic strategy to implement during anarchy. Now, we were fairly lucky where we are up in the province of Gauteng, that when the anarchy started, or the localized anarchy in KZN, we were waiting for the anarchy to spill over to the rest of the country. But luckily for us, nothing really happened up where we are. But the people in KZN can tell you how important it is to prepare. And they can also testify to the fact that after the third day in that specific area of KZN, they couldn't find petrol or diesel, and then they couldn't find bread on the shelf. So anarchy tends to happen fairly fast, and you have to be aware of your localized surroundings. So coming back to the different possibilities that you have in your arsenal of preparedness. So bugging in is basically the static positioning of yourself in your house, and trying to defend that specific house or building. And then the second option, which most of the preparedness community in South Africa do practice, is then the bugging out and then relocating to another area. And we've learned, and the preppers down in KZN can tell you, that to bug out during anarchy or localized anarchy is extremely difficult. We had incidences of the preparedness community down in certain towns in Richards Bay that just couldn't get out of Richards Bay. And we had instances of people in the Durban area, when the localized anarchy started, they just could not get out. So does prepping make sense? It definitely does. Just after the riots, I think about 5 or 6 months later, that specific area were then struck by floods, flash floods, and it was absolutely, everything was underwater. Houses were flooded away. So it does make sense to actually prepare for either localized anarchy or then when nature strikes. So the first option is what I refer to as positioning yourself. So you all know the different types of strategies, bugging in, bugging out. Now, both of these strategies does have a place. At a certain point, bugging in does make sense. But bugging in has got an expiry date, especially we believe if you live in one of the cities in South Africa, like we've seen in KZN in 2021 and in Richards Bay. So there is a place for bugging in. There's definitely a place for staying where you are and defending the specific area. But at some stage, that strategy will expire. The second strategy of bugging out also has a place, but bugging out, having a convoy of a lot of people driving out of a city or out of an area, is extremely dangerous, because you do become a target once you hit the road. So when you do bug out, it needs to be strategically planned. you actually need to have a window of opportunity that is the safest to leave that specific area or leave the city. And then the third option, which I think is the best option, is what we call positioning. So that literally means packing up where you're currently living and relocating to an area that is less populated, that is far more isolated, and an area where you won't find mass looting, mass burning, and mass anarchy. So this is the more difficult one to implement, because a lot of people stay close to where they work or stay close to where their businesses are. So it is a tremendous big sacrifice to reposition yourself to an area where you are immediately safe during anarchy. So this means you'll be bugging in that specific area. You will not be bugging out, and you will be sure of the fact that you are so isolated in that specific area that you will actually be safe to a degree. Look, you're never ever going to be safe 100%, but if you do reposition yourself, you do find an area that's less populated, your chances of surviving is much better. And then the positive of this positioning is that you can actually live self-sustainably. So you'll be able to have a nice garden, have some livestock, and you'll be able to produce food instead of storing up food, which are two different things. So during this week, we'll make a second video, and we would like to share with you how to build your own prepping community. And this actually originates from a part of our history, a part of the Second Boer War that we fought against the British from 1899 to 1902. So a bit of history that we can learn from in how to actually build our own prepping community. And believe me if I say it's not that difficult. If you hear how simple it is, you'll actually laugh at yourself, because in the times that we are living in currently, it is necessary to prepare. It does make sense to prepare. I mean, if you look at Europe, Europe is on the brink of World War III, and we're seeing since 2020 the food supply system has literally collapsed. I see the stores around our area, the shelves are empty, and they're very clever because the couple of products they've got left, they push to the front, so you don't see the shelves at the back being empty. And when you ask the managers about why it is so empty, they always tell you, well, it's a delivery problem. But clearly after 3 or 4 months, and the whole shop looking like this, there's definitely not a delivery issue, there's a stock issue. So you'll need to make sure that you do prepare well for the coming years. This is South African Prepper. Please like, share and subscribe.